This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back, everyone. I've heard this term before, and it's often been said that you need to practice this if you want to have the best life possible. There's so many different demands out there, people, time, and all of that. You need to use boundaries. What are these boundaries? And how do they apply to people? How do they apply to pets? We're going to talk about that today. She has a lot of insight in many different areas, specifically in terms of dogs. She is the woman behind the Animal Psychology Center, and love talking with her. Katherine Andrews back on the program. How you doing over there?
Hi, Steve. I just have to tell everybody out there that I had a wonderful conversation with Steve. We always do, by the way, before our podcast, but we had a special conversation today, and I wanted to share a little bit of that with you because I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what's going on with me personally, which always relates to what I'm going to talk about and probably what you guys need to hear, hopefully, if it all works well, right, Steve? Is that I had woke up one morning and my left leg didn't work very well. And I was having a lot of pain, and they said it was the sciatic nerve, and it was getting worse and worse. And this has been going on for a few weeks and 3 weeks now, 4 weeks, and couldn't feel the bottoms of my feet the next morning. And they thought it was just the hip being out of the socket, and I had injured it, which I hadn't. But anyway, come to find out, somebody finally got in there and really felt that there was a tumor in there. And so now I'm going to get an MRI and figure out what's going on. But it's scary, and it was shocking. And because I'm in really good health and feel great, but my physicality, because of my job, is very important to me. And I'm a very physical person. But Steve and I were talking about that. He was talking about a recent journey he had too, with a little scare. And thought,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, in my journey, I was told I had stage 3 less than a year ago of skin cancer. Turned out that it wasn't. And I went with my intuition. Thankfully, it was right. And another doctor. So, my advice to you is just wait until you're at that juncture. Because some things can turn out differently than you might expect them to. But certainly it's you go down that rabbit hole. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of anxiety. It's just
scary.
Scary. Yeah.
Especially for those of us that are single. I'm single.
Same.
Steve, I don't even know if you're single, but it's, you don't have a partner that's there, and you
Yes,
have
but
other
you do. You do.
responsibilities.
You have a partner. It's you.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, you know what? That's what I learned in my journey. That you rely on people, and that's all good, but you never know what's going to happen tomorrow to anybody, any relationship, any situation. But you always have you. Nobody's going to love you more. Nobody's going to care about you more. Nobody's going to know. Yes, it's great to have somebody to rely on, friends and family, etc. Ultimately, it comes down to each one of us. Took me a while to figure that out.
Yeah, you know what? And that sometimes that's each of something that we need to figure out. And
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, what?
Probably part of what I'm figuring out right now too is to be okay with that. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Mike, I just got a thought. We're talking about boundaries today, and once you're more connected to you and what's important to you and who you really are, your authentic self, you start seeing the boundaries where you might need to put them up in situations around you where people are asking for things, whatever it might be. But sometimes it's hard to put those boundaries up. You feel guilty saying no to certain things, and on and on.
Super person, me. I never need anything from anybody or want it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's who I see myself as, and that's unrealistic. I'm sure I'm getting a slap in the face from the universe, Steve. I have no idea why I'm going through this. It's like whack, And I, unfortunately, because I'm pretty stubborn and thick-headed and very determined, and sometimes you need to really smack the shit out of me, obviously, to get my attention.
Are you an Aries?
No, I'm a Cancer. I'm
Mm-hmm.
a mom. I'm a mommy to everybody, and
Mm.
a homebody. I mean, look at this place. It's all kitschy, and everybody that walks in goes, "Oh," because I have like fish tanks and plants and cats and little creatures everywhere. It's like that zoo. I live in a zoo thing. So yeah, I'm like, this is my environment and my space, and I don't leave it very much, and I don't really want to. But yeah,
I'm getting
Cancer.
more like that and liking it too.
Yes, yes,
I look
yeah.
forward to it
Well,
sometimes.
because you like humor, and I made this place what I want.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody else thinks, but it always makes me feel good when people walk in and say they feel at home. And that's the biggest comment I get is that. And then they start wandering around because they start looking at the animals and the plants and the fish and stuff. And all of everybody here is very happy. So when you look in that fish tank, you're like, oh my God, look at them. They're so, you know what I mean? So it's a joyful place, and I'm
Hmm.
proud of that. But back to boundaries here. Um, Speaking of what happened to me here, and I had some people who lost a parent and came here to town and needed someone to care for their three dogs, which I don't do. I don't do boarding. I'm gonna put this lady. Um, and I said, okay, because emergency situation, loss, all that. Well, these little guys have never had any boundaries, Steve. And when I say never had any
Mm.
boundaries, no one's ever said no to them. And they're three little dogs and they're adorable, but they have no discipline whatsoever. And they are little terrorists. And I was the first one who said, no, no, you can't chase my little cats around and terrorize them. No, you can't pee on stuff. No, and they were just like, what? And so I started thinking about that today. And, a lot of times people come to me and they say, they're, and we all do this. Don't get me wrong, victim, victim. My dog isn't behaving right, and um, need some help. And, it's my dog is doing this and my dog. Well, come to find out, you have not given that dog the right information so he cannot be misbehaved. So he can be good. And the few times that you've tried, you've done it in the wrong way. Not that it's your fault. We're not taught to be animal communicators. And so by the time I see you, things have gone awry to the point where you're almost wanting to get rid of the dog and you don't even like them sometimes. And you're emotional about it. The dog is sad. He's losing his home, all that. So that's what happens when you go down the road. And if you were to back up the whole truck back to where it happened in the driveway, so to speak, it would be not setting those boundaries, not letting the dog know when the first thing that he did that went wrong and it wasn't okay.
Hmm. How do we put boundaries up within our pets? Like, let's say you want your dog to do certain things. How do you make those corrections? I don't even. I'm afraid to even say corrections.
No, that is right. It's a correction.
Okay.
It's anytime someone, and then think about it. I mean, even in a relationship, any relationship, all of this relates to relationships. Our relationship with our dogs, because they are so close to us as humans, it's very parallel to our relationship with our friends and kids and spouses and everybody. So all of this relates. Um, you need to let somebody know right away when something's not okay. We
Mm.
have a tendency to
Mm.
just this was a little infraction. It wasn't that big a deal. I'm gonna be the person who's like so chill and so cool and just be like, let that go. Well, I'm here to tell you, those things back up, and then it gets harder and harder and harder to put that stop sign up, and you start to feel more guilty when you think about doing it, and things just pile up to the point where you're looking at a relationship that's starting to deteriorate. So, how do you think about doing that differently? When something doesn't feel right, when the dog does something, and that's what happened here. The dogs were fine for the first day or two. They were all happy and running around and stuff. And everybody thinks that that's the way they are. Well, and I tell people this when they adopt from the shelter, you're not going to know that dog for about 2 to 3 weeks. Or cat, just like any relationship. When you first meet somebody, do you know them really well when you have coffee? No, people. You have to wait till you live some life with them. You have to wait till they get an opportunity to screw up and see how they act. You know what I mean? See how they act, see what happens. So these little guys screwed up. And I said something to them and they were just like, what? Whoa, they just totally ignored me and went on their merry way. So guess what? There were repercussions. And then they were like, whoa, we don't like you very much. And so now we're kind of going through the we don't like you very much. But you have to go through that. And that's why people avoid this stuff. Because and this happens all the time with my clients' dogs, after they go through wait a minute, who brought Katherine in here? Why is she the authority? And who made her the pack leader? Whoa, we don't even like her. And they try to bite me and, all that. Then we persist because I say, look, we got to do this. We don't have a choice, you guys, because you called me and you said, this is it. So we persist and they let me do my thing. They back me up. And then the dogs are like, okay, it is a new day. I don't have a choice. Moral of the story is down the road, they come to not only accept me as part of the pack, but they revere me and they respect me and they love me. And when I come, they're super excited to see me and they're super excited to stay here, even though there's boundaries and rules.
I see the parallel here to people because many of us say we don't like confrontation. So we put up with things, we don't put the boundaries up, and we love our dogs sometimes, more than people. So it's like, it's just a little thing. I'm not gonna rock the boat with them. But I got to believe that that's fostering future unwanted behavior because you didn't show them, and you're the we forget we need to lead them like kids.
Yeah. And you're not, when you're not when you're not a good leader, when you're not making I had a discussion this morning with I don't have children in this lifetime, but I have a lot of kids that I call foster kids. And I had a discussion with her about her son and who brought in a kid to live with them because his parents kicked him out. And they're both creating havoc in her world and making messes. And I'm like, you are not helping the world by creating 2 more worthless men to put out there. And now other women are going to deal with the messes that they make. So you got to get this in hand and you got to make them responsible. They should be cleaning up. They're 16, Steve. They should be cleaning up after themselves. They should be helping you. You come home from work, you've been working all day. They should have dinner sometimes. They should have laundry done. You know what I mean? They should have the kitchen cleaned up. They should be responsible. And you're not making them do any of that. You're not helping them to be good people. And I hate to tell you, but that's bad parenting. And I know I hurt your feelings right there, but it's true.
It's, just like children. And they'll, let's say you have teens, even, a 10-year-old. You have to put the boundaries up. You have to give them structure. They're going to fight. I don't know. They crave it. And I have to believe too, dogs are the same. They're looking for your lead. They need to know what they're supposed to be doing. But a lot of times we don't want to rock the boat. We want, what do we all want? We all want to be loved. So like, then we're not going to do that because, we don't want our dog to be mad at us, but they need that structure too, especially when it comes to behavior situations, right?
Right. And just know that and phenomena, you are going to be okay. You're going to be loved more because you were the one that said, hey, this isn't okay. Not only is it not okay for you to make a mess in my kitchen and not clean it up, for you to disrespect me and not be keeping this house clean, or, you need to be making some food sometimes. You need to be cleaning your up your space.
Mm-hmm.
It's same with dogs, You don't need to be chasing my cats. You don't need to be terrorizing my other animals. You don't need to be peeing on my stuff. Um, you're not serving them well, and you're not serving future people who they interact with well, because they get labeled as assholes, and who wants to be an asshole? But that's what happens. And I told Brittany, I said, my foster kid, I said, so who do you want Riley to date? Who's going to date him? A girl with low self-esteem who puts up with that crap? Or do you want him to date someone who is a powerhouse, like you or me, and who gets shit done and, is responsible and caring and kind? You want him to be all those things. Yeah. So it's okay to expect things from your dogs too. Even your cats, my cats know that they get disciplined too, because sometimes they fight, or if I bring somebody home that's a stray, they object or something. I'm like, no, no, no. You don't, when you start writing the checks and paying the bills, you can object to what I and what I do. You need to go along and help me. And that's okay to expect that.
I agree. I just think we're afraid to ask for it. That's all. Um,
Yes, because we are going to have to go through some uncomfortable bitching and pissing and moaning from other people about it.
yes.
That, especially if we decide to change gears and go back to, whoa, 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 and they're going to be like, well, it was okay for a long time. Well, guess what? Not okay now. Everybody changes and growing. No one stays the same, ever. That's a law of the universe. Either you're moving forward or you're falling behind, but you're never the same. And when somebody told me that law of the universe, I'm like, dang, that's true. Everybody is either getting better or worse.
I remember it was about a year and change ago. I left here at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I had a meeting like 7. I'm like, I'm going to go get me something to eat, Dashboard Dine, and there's a little airport right around the corner. And I'm just going to, I'm talking about it's like 2 minutes away. I'm just going to park my car near a runway, relax, breeze coming in. It was a nice day out. Maybe I'll see a plane take off, whatever, and just have, my dinner. Phone rings. I know who it is. It's somebody I'm close to. And there's always drama from them. So I'm like, what do I do? Should I pick it up? Should I not? Felt guilty. So I'm like, here we go. Pick it up. It's exactly what I thought it was going to be. And my quiet moment is gone. But from that moment forward, that was my wake up. Like, you're not doing that ever again. When you set a time aside for yourself, that's your time. You're not answering the phone. If anybody needs to get to you, just text. I see everything. No problem. I don't even have notifications on my phone. I shut them all off. Everything. And if you really need to get to me, you'll call me. And if it's an emergency, you'll call me a few times. I'm like, I got you, whatever. But that was my wake up of the boundaries. And I try to enforce that as much as possible. Like you say, sometimes we waver a little bit, but I'm trying to stick better to it. But that was it was a I hate me moment. Like, I hate myself for answering the phone because I went against.
Especially when you knew what was going to happen, and then you knew like King, king, king.
I hate me for not
I do that.
standing my ground and adhering to what became my standards of people are always going to take from
You
you.
know, doesn't it suck that when we're whining about anything really, that it's usually has something to do with us and what we're doing or not doing, or, you know,
Mm,
yeah.
truth.
Not to say that we shouldn't, because that's how we kind of air things. Like I was doing with you before the podcast, I just needed to air it because I just was holding it so heavy.
Well, that's different. That's a different
Yeah.
situation. Just the usual day-to-day kind of stuff. I even was putting a key in the door the other day, and I thought to myself as I'm doing it, and I didn't even know, it just popped in my head. I was like, in my brain, I'm like, be more careful with who you give your time to, because we all have the same amount of time. You can't buy any more. So it's you're once you give some, you can't get it back, and people are always going to be taking your time more and more and more and more. And more. Like, all right, what's important? There are some that you need to give it to, then others not. And then, I mean, we can go a whole territory here of energy and how there are what known as energy vampires, where people just suck your energy out. Like literally, they're doing that. You might not
Yeah.
even know it. So
Yeah.
there comes the boundaries.
And, here's the thing. When you tell people things and they negate you, that's how you know who do you move on with and who don't you don't move on with.
That's a really great point. If they don't respect what you're saying, like let's say, and no is a complete sentence. When somebody asks you, "Hey, are you free Saturday? I need somebody to help me move." Well, you have something already planned, and if you say, "No, I can't," many of us have to give an excuse, and I think that comes from childhood, where we feel that
Oh yeah,
we lose our value if we don't have a reason. But
right.
if that person doesn't accept it, spot on with what you just said. They go. They should,
Yeah.
because they don't respect you.
Yeah. And know that you're gonna move on from most people.
Well,
You just
that I believe in season or reason. Not everybody's here forever in your life. Come and go as they should. Yeah, I know we pivoted from dogs here today a little bit, but there's a lot of parallels there to people and
yeah.
pets. You have
They live with us. They're our family.
they are family. Like
Yeah. And part of the thing I want people to see is that they're not different. They're really not. We're
mm,
all mammals. They are feeling, thinking, breathing. They have intuition. They have thoughts and goals. They want a job. They want to feel good. They want to all the things that you want, they want too. And you need to give them that respect and that kindness, and look at them in a way that
yeah.
is a little bit bigger. And
I
that's what I
I
love to
forget
do.
they're animals too. Mammals. They're
Yeah.
mammals. Animalpsychologycenter.com is the website for insight on training your dogs. Um, you're so wonderful. Have such positive energy. I'm sending it right back to you with prayers, and it's gonna be okay. I get I ride on my intuition. I speak from my heart. I'm feeling that.
Thank you. All right. Thank you today for what you did for me.
Oh,
And
thank you.
everybody out there, we'll see you next week, and we'll let you know. I get my MRI tomorrow.
All good.
Yay.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.